the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Switching gears here a little bit, Ryan Schumpert, transfer portal. Heating up a little bit. Tennessee hosting multiple defensive linemen, one from LSU, one from Wisconsin. This week you get Mo from Arizona, interior guard guy, which is about what we expected. I thought Tennessee was going to add, and we'll end up adding at least one or two guys on the interior and on the defensive line. They're going to lose several on the interior. On the defensive line, they're going to lose several. We'll see what happens with Andre Carrick's case, and if he wins his appeal and gets a red shirt for one of those earlier years, and he can come back at left guard. But the one thing that I'm continuing to monitor, and I wonder, because this one popped up now, Michael Hudson, who we talked about 2 weeks ago, he's going to A&M. He's staying in the state of Texas from Texas Tech. The one that now pops up that's more interesting, that maybe is more potentially possible, from Miami, but he went to Oakland. Tennessee, obviously, a lot of Oakland kids in the pipeline here from Murfreesboro. He is been productive a lot. You were talking about this. You want more productive at your previous stop than just recruiting rankings. But Isaiah Horton in the portal, I mean, this raised some eyebrows. I think it got liked. I was looking at the likes of the portal edition from any Tennessee players. I think Nico liked the announcement on the Hayes Westside. I'm always monitoring that to see what that looks like, Ryan Schumpert. But yeah, Matt Ray and Austin Price and Ron Callahan, look out. No one's watching the likes quite like Chase Thomas here at the Chase Thomas Podcast and Vols Up. But Ryan Schumpert, what do you make of Isaiah Horton and whether or not he makes sense? Because Nimrod's out, Webb's out, Spillman's out. Am I forgetting another name? Well, obviously Brew and Dante are gone for this year. I just don't know how you don't add at least one portal receiver. I just don't know how.
I think it's got to be more than that now, just from the fact that they lost Laycock and Spillman, too, just from a number standpoint. Not that I had any expectations for those guys to have a big role next season.
Laycock, too. I forgot, yeah.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, I think they kind of had multiple guys. And look, I think the big thing when you talk about fit, and then I'm just, unaware of is what the asking price is. That's the big question on just about anybody, especially a guy at receiver. But yeah, I think on the surface, it makes a ton of sense. A 6'4" receiver.
Yep.
Plays out wide. That's what Tennessee needs. They lose their two most productive guys out wide, and Brew McCoy and Dante Thornton, as you just highlighted. And a guy that, it would have been Cody Burns would have been Tennessee's receivers coach when Tennessee did recruit Isaiah Horton out of high school and he went to Oakland. Kelsey Pope was obviously on staff then. I don't know if he had a very active role recruiting him, but either way, there are some relationships there and some ties there, in addition to him being an in-state kid. So I do think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know that he's just a complete game changer that, Tennessee, to me, I've pounded the table that Tennessee needs to grab in the portal, but he is a guy that is a solid player and could contribute. And I think that's well worth analyzing, trying to bring in. And at the very least, Tennessee's going to need bodies and some more competition there. And I think Horton could 100% provide that.
I like the size, the 6'4" aspect. I think they need just somebody on the outside. Like, we'll see what it looks like. Losing two high snap, highly productive guys in Brew and Dante. The slot just feels more. I don't think you really need that as much, especially if Squirrel's back and Staley is back. I think you're okay there. And obviously Matthews can flip inside. He's done both to this point, so we'll see what that looks like. But I'm just very, very curious how they handle this, because obviously they're dealing with a playoff game on Saturday. The timing is terrible. But Tennessee, I think, has to be active at the receiver position in the portal. Like, I just don't think there's any way around it. Like, I am high on a lot of the talent coming in, especially Travis Smith Jr. out of Westlake back in Georgia. But they need guys. They need at least one, like you said, maybe even two proven. I'd probably still lean one, just because I'm still pretty high on Mike next year on the outside and a lot of the guys that they're bringing in. But they have to do something here, and I'm just very curious who the guy that they ultimately pull. Because I think you and I agree, we would be stunned if they didn't add anybody out of the portal with how much turnover there is there.
100%. I mean, just from a numbers perspective, what they did sign 3.
Mm.
So I don't know. I backed myself in the corner to do some quick math here, which was dumb of me. But what, they're going to have like 7 or 8 guys on scholarship, and 3 of them are going to be freshmen if they don't bring anybody in? Like, I definitely don't think you have to have some more bodies, and they have to have, I think, more proven production. And look, it's a one-time deal, and I know it's not quite a one-to-one comparison, but that's where I go back to last year. It's like it feels like you need someone that's proven to be a good receiver at this level. And Horton has after, I mean, Brazel had good numbers at Tulane. And look, maybe it's a second year in the system thing and it clicks for him next year, but it certainly hasn't this season. So I'm very curious to see what it looks like and see which names they end up kind of zoning in on. But Horton is one with the connections, with the productivity, with, you talked about Tennessee's needs on the outside, that makes a lot of sense.
No, 100%. And I'm curious what ultimately happens there. But it's also nice, like, let me just say, for Vol fans who are worried about like the portal and everything else, it's just nice that like Tennessee really doesn't have to do much. Like, yeah, they got to get a couple guys on the interior on both sides line of scrimmage, but I mean, yeah, they need a receiver on the outside, but this is not what it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, they're okay. Like, I think people are just seeing a lot of, I think Vol fans are seeing a lot of exits. Like, Cam Seldon was, I guess, a kind of a surprise, but then you look at the room and you're like, I think they're going to be all right. Like, I think Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop and DeJuan Morris and insert next guy here, they're going to be fine. Like, they've earned the benefit of the doubt. They're deep in a lot of positions. They're extremely deep on the defensive line. They're deep at linebacker. They're deep at corner. Jordan Matthews
I would
hurt.
disagree with that.
Where?
Corner.
No,
They're
you
deep
have
at
McMurray
corner.
back next year, and you have
Is
Caleb
McMurray
Beasley in
back?
year 2. They're deep. They play their guys 60 to 70 snaps a game.
Okay,
They're fine.
I didn't think McMurray was back. If McMurray's back, they're fine.
Yeah, McMurray's back.
Okay, I thought he was a 1-year guy.
Unless I'm mistaken, McMurray has another year.
I thought he went through senior day, but I could be wrong about
Well, I
that.
think you can still go through senior day and just
That's
come
true.
back.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I'm wrong, but don't quote me on that. But I thought Jalen McMurray had another year.
You're right. If he has another year, then they're deep enough, and they don't need to add anybody.
Yeah, and Caleb Beasley is a super talented kid. At Lipscomb, like he can easily step into that 4-3 spot. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm just not worried about corner, especially with Ricky Gibson and Jermont McCoy for another. Like they're fine. And they play a bunch of snaps. Safety, they'll be like Star, Boo, obviously back. He'll be even better. Safety, I think they'll be deeper than they were this year. I'm a big Idris Farouk guy, as you know. Like I'm excited what that might be next year. I don't know. And then linebacker, like they're bringing in so many linebacker bodies. Spillman will be in year 2. I don't know. Arian Carter year 3. I think they're gonna be very okay there. And William Inge has been a really good coach at that spot. So I'm just not really worried. Like there's just not a lot of positions to be all that concerned about. To me, I guess it's really tackle because I mean you're gonna potentially start a true freshman on the offensive line, and we'll see what Lance Hurd looks like in year 2. The offensive line, I guess, is probably your biggest question mark on offense, but outside of receiver. But you have young guys, but I don't know. I'm not gonna really panic about the receiver stuff because Tennessee's won nearly 20 games with subpar receiver play in the last 2 years. So I don't know. It's just not. I don't know. It's just it's a good place for Vol fans. Is that like, yeah, it hurts to lose a lot of guys here in the portal, but you also just you're okay. Like you don't have to live in the portal. You don't have to bring in a bunch of guys to replace a bunch of guys or anything like that. It's pretty. You'll add a couple, and Tennessee will be fine going into next year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that there's no need for like a ton of bodies. And look, even the last few years, it's kind of been a slow burn when you talk about Tennessee adding guys in the portal. It's not like they've come out guns blazing in December. I mean, what they added Lance Hurd and Moy both in like early January last year, if I'm not mistaken, and Kitzelman in January last year. So like they seem to be a little more drawn out processes, I guess, with the guys they bring in. But no, I agree. To me, it's a pretty clear line of they got to have somebody at receiver, interior offensive line, interior defensive line, and then there's a couple other spots. Like, yeah, you could probably use a body here or there for depth, but you don't need anybody super badly, and that's obviously a really nice place to be. I do think the receivers is largely is a big part of what's holding them back from taking the next step right now as a program. So I do think that continues to be a major issue. But obviously, there's no guarantee you're just solely going to fix that in the portal either. So And it's not like they need to have a complete overhaul and add 4 guys or anything like that either.
I agree. Switching gears here, with Seldon in the portal, do they need to add a running back? Because I think that's what.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.